Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media, links are in the description below. I just like to post pictures of my drawings, that's about it. And then I've also in the description posted a link to the Marvel database where you can look at plot synopsis, character origins, kind of like the old Marvel Universe handbook. So today we're going to be looking at Spider-Man 2099, number 5. I have covered 1 through 4. I do have a Spider-Man 2099 playlist. Feel free to check that out as I cover the previous issues here. We get a great cover by Rick Leonardi and is inked by Al Williamson. Rest in peace, Al Williamson. He was a huge artist during the Silver Age. Did a lot of stuff, but inking is primarily how I know him from. He also inked John Romita Jr.'s run in Daredevil, so feel free to check that out. You can see it does look a bit sloppy, but I love it. I'm not even gonna complain about the sloppiness. He uses a pen, and some of it, though, it does look like he's I'm sorry, he uses brush, but once in a while it looks like he uses a pen to get some of these lines and scratches here. But we're going to pick up right where we left off. So Casey Nash has been kidnapped by the Specialist here. So the Specialist is talking to Spider-Man, and he's telling him that it was so chivalrous of him to tell her to run while he handled the situation, and says, you know, chivalry is dead nowadays, like honor. But he appreciates his attitude and promises that once he's been unmasked, his death will be as painless as possible. And you can see him here on top of poor Miguel here. Here we have our credits. I have every single issue of the original run. I did not pick them up as they came out. I picked them up later, and believe it or not, there was a time when this whole series, which is now because of the movie pretty expensive, but there was a time when these things were in dollar bins, and so I must have gotten all 46 issues for probably $10, I would say. But I do have them. I got into Peter David, like a big kick of Peter David. By the way, Peter David has a GoFundMe to help with some of his medical issues that he has. Feel free to contribute to that if you would like. But I like Peter David from Hulk and started getting some of his other stuff that was non-Hulk. I had actually known of Spider-Man 2099 and had picked up an issue or two, but I never pulled it on my pull list, so I missed a lot of stuff. So I ended up going back and picking them up, and then I also ended up picking up his Aquaman run and a lot of stuff, man. I really like Peter David. He gets a bit of a rap because he's always with the jokes, but he also does a lot of serious stuff in between the jokiness. So kind of depends on whether, you know, what kind of what kind of books you like to read. So he's unmasking him, but the mask is adhering to him. It's really the webbing, I believe, that he is using on it to keep it there. And so he uses his little talons to cut him. And so the Specialist is not happy. So watching from his office is, of course, Tyler Stone. And he's calling his assistant, Winston, here. he's gonna ask him to interrupt all of the feeds. Public eye is the this is of course a future in which corporations rule, and so Alchemax is like the largest corporation that's out there. So he wants this to be monitored everywhere in the city, and he says that Winston tells him he'll need clearance. He asks if he's recording. He says yes, and he says, "I, Tyler Stone, give him full authorization to interrupt public eye feed program as instructed." He says he's got it, and that they'll have the full feed in 30 seconds. And he says then he wants him to alert the PE, which is Public Eye Corps. So Winston asks if Public Eye is to converge and apprehend Spider-Man. Tyler tells him converge, yes, but apprehend, no, and to make sure he finishes the fight and not to let him leave, and he'll have him arranged. Oh, he hasn't arranged all this just to turn him into another prisoner. So, and meanwhile, then of course, what I like about Al Williamson doing this versus some of his other works. Very Bill Sienkiewicz. It kind of like a little bit sloppy. And I don't mean sloppy in a bad way. Actually, in pretty good. So of course you're seeing the action here as we kind of go through. So he's creating a diversion, hoping that Casey will be able to be free and get lost. So he says all the good things that the specialist does, but he's not a good tracker. And his brother Gabriel, he thinks these are thought balloons, of course, that he owes him big time for bailing his girlfriend out like this. So Casey is going to leave because after all, that's what Spider-Man wants her to do. When she notices the Flyboys, which are the members of the Public Eye, and she realizes that they don't notice her or care about her. They're after Spider-Man, and realizes it's a setup. But then she says, "It's not my problem. He told me to go." And then she kind of pauses and says she's so concerned to save herself that she's leaving him in a lurch. So, shock it is the it's the F word, but I really enjoy. I like the creativity of comic books. I remember that it was blast it instead of damn it and things like that. I really do miss that from comic books. So the inventiveness of cursing without cursing. And so they continue fighting. We're going to use this vertical panel. So here. And so he guesses by the tone that he's probably real unhappy, but he wonders if he is somehow connected to Stark Fujikawa, which is a merger between Stark Enterprises and Fujikawa. So Spider-Man thinks that it makes sense for a retro Asian firm like them. They would have the oh my goodness, is it the specialist under their payroll? But then he wonders why they're so interested in Casey also. And here they're all looking at that fight. So I'm going to back here. So this is the Stark Fujikawa board, and this is the head of the board. I believe he's called Hikaru. So he's saying here, that the specialist has never lost, but Spider-Man is making a fool out of him. So they are talking among themselves here. They're saying Spider-Man's embarrassing them by embarrassing the specialist, and that they should help him. And the specialist has never failed them before, and that his embarrassment is his lack of faith. and Hikaru here saying, "Please, gentlemen, gently. This is a specialist fight. It would be dishonorable to intercede. But if the Spider-Man defeats or even humiliates our man," he's cutting the or pruning the bonsai tree, "then his momentary triumph will be followed by his destruction." So, all right. So of course he realizes that the Flyboys are all around, and they're cutting off his escape route. And then he sees a specialist sword, so he uses his talon. And he's saying, fight one fight at a time. He can't fight everybody. So he says something in Japanese, to which he says Gesundheit. Again, Peter David inserts humor everywhere, even at the most inappropriate times. I think that's part of that trope that he has. I've covered Blood Scent with Wolverine, drawn by Sam Keith, or Blood Hungry, I think is what it's called, and that thing is jokes galore everywhere. So, like I said, even under serious times. So Spider-Man says that Casey should be gone by now, and now he needs to get rid of the specialist and then take his chances with the Flyboys. That he doesn't need to beat him, just get out of there in one piece. But of course, the specialist isn't really letting him get out, and you can see him here kicking him. So, of course, they're all hanging back, make sure he doesn't slip past them. So, this guy here wants a piece of Spider-Man, but he's saying hang back, and that's an order. So, he's saying he's already hurt you once. And then if he nails you again, the captain's going to have my head, he says. So, to stay put. So, elsewhere here, we have Gabriel O'Hara. He's using a virtual reality simulation of a Native American village. Kind of, so you can see him here. He's moving things around to see if he can, he's working on something here. So the doorbell rings. So you can see here, save the scene. And then he's like, "Oh, please let it be Casey." And then, but it's Dana. And she says, "Gabe, we need to talk." Another thing that is something that Peter David does is he gives everyone their nicknames, like Gabriel, Gabe. I understand it's so, but here's another one where they're saying SD for Estevez. I've never heard anybody call as an Estevez SD, but he is Peter David does that a lot. So Dana D'Angelo is Miguel's girlfriend / fiance. So she comes in and says she's worried about Miguel, who is Miguel O'Hara, who happens to be Spider-Man. So Gabriel's not answering his calls, and she believes something's going on. Gabriel tells Dana to just give him some space, and then she says, that even though, and he wouldn't really know much about anything because the two of them aren't exactly super close. So he tells him, that everything is just about him, meaning Miguel, and the only reason is that the relationship between Dana and Miguel has lasted as long as because she loves Miguel more than Miguel does. So suddenly the two of them kiss, and they suddenly see this the fight here. So up at Stark Fujikawa, they see that the specialist gaining the upper hand, and this guy apologizes for his lack of faith, and the CEO accepts the apology. Here's Casey asking people to get out of the way. This guy here tells her, "I'm not going anywhere." And she kicks him in the and the groin, and then gets on his back. And as she's climbing out, she's gonna jump to that flyboy up there. So he knocks this guy out, which I think is Esteves. So, and she's gonna go help Spider-Man. So it says, "Let's get out of here," or "Let's blow," which means get out of here, using 90s language. And so he uses his web shooter, and then he's like, "Please don't let me miss." And off they go. The specialist grabs him by the leg, and he says, "I will not be dishonored by allowing you this cowardly retreat." And you can see the specialist still holding. Tyler's like, "Excellent." So everybody's watching. She says, Dana's watching and says, "That's the Spider-Man everyone's been talking about," and then asks who's that person on the bike helping him, and Gabe, recognizing, goes, "That's," and then he stops and says, "That's someone I've never seen before," which of course is a lie. So, and Casey says that his weight, meaning the specialist's weight, is slowing them down, and so they need to get rid of him. And he kicks him, but still nothing. He won't let go of him. And so you can see here that he says, "I know Kung Fu and Karate," and several other dangerous words. So he grabs him, presses with his talons. You can see Casey here. And suddenly she goes, "Ah, shock." And she was going to hit that building, tells Spider-Man to brace himself. Suddenly the specialist realizes, and then bam, hits the side of the building, and he falls. Spider-Man catches, or throws the web at him to catch him. He, of course, doesn't want to kill him. And so he says, "Specialist, guess what? That lack of killer instinct is the only thing that's keeping him from becoming a bloody pulp in the sidewalk." So he puts him down, and then he kicks him, and then he gets angry, uses his talons, and cuts his face. And people are like, "He slit his throat." And so Tyler's like, "Perfect." And so out come the other people, and he's like, "I didn't mean to. Why can't you all just leave me alone?" And so here's Esteves, and he says, "This is the dad. You sliced up my son a few days ago. Ready, aim." And then of course Tyler's like, "No, you idiots, don't hurt him. That's a direct order." No, of course they're not listening. They're firing on Spider-Man, and he is falling and falling and falling. And love these vertical panels. And next issue, downtown. So this concludes our review here of Spider-Man 2099 number 5 from 1993, written by Peter David. Again, if you are able to help him, he's, like I said, he has a GoFundMe available. Pencils by Rick Leonardi, and inks by Al Williamson. May he rest in peace. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.